In the gospel we saw this week, we see that Jesus gives each and every one of us a choice. The choice is simple. Come follow me and I will lead you into eternal life. Or you can walk away from me and you can see what the world has to offer. He warns that if you follow him, like as he experienced, you can expect rejection, you can expect suffering, you may even experience a martyr's death, but following that is resurrection and eternal life. If you walk away from that, then you have what the world has to offer. And the warning is, what the world has to offer is no guarantees, no promises, and ultimately it ends. And this was the reality that the people at the time of Jesus came to experience. Those who chose to follow him experienced everything he promised: difficulty, struggle, the pains of being rejected, even martyrdom in most cases. But ultimately what they experienced was the eternal life of joy that they were promised in heaven. However, those who walked away from the Lord and they said, we're going to have what the world has to offer for us, they walked down a path that ultimately ended around the 70s AD. If you can imagine that when Jesus begins preaching, and always imagine this every time you read the gospel, there is a huge clock that's ticking down. It begins from the time that Jesus begins preaching and ends at the end of 40 years. And when that 40-year period is reached, what happens is everything that the community in which Jesus was born, which is the Jewish community, everything they hold dear is destroyed by the Romans. The temple, which was the center of Jewish life, it was where all the liturgical experiences, where the sacrifice happened, destroyed. And even the Jewish nation of Judah wiped off the face of the map. The Jewish faith continued in the people who still celebrate it today, but there is no more sacrifice. The Jewish nation wasn't restored until 1946 or 1948, and in reality, the only part of that temple where the Jewish liturgical life was celebrated is the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall. Those who put their hopes in what this world had to offer found that eventually it ends. The same thing with the Romans and the same thing with us each and every time of our lives. If you put your promises with what the world has to offer, you will have to realize it ends. If all your life is rooted in the world, then I'm sure you're watching the news every single day because you know the world can change at any moment. But if everything you root yourself is in faith, then you're united to Christ, and no matter what happens, that doesn't change, and your hopes remain the same. As the saints will tell you, the thing to fear the most is turning from Christ. Nothing else is something that we should fear, because when we're united with Christ, we have the stability of our relationship with him. This is what Jesus taught to the apostles. This is what Jesus teaches to us. Today we have many people who are trying to silence our church, many people who are trying to teach us to turn away from God, to turn away from Christ and experience what this world has to offer. But when ultimately you ask them, what does this world have to offer? They can make no guarantees or promises. Jesus made both a guarantee and a promise. Come follow me, and I will lead you into eternal life. And that is the promise that we choose each and every day to seek. We pick up our cross, we follow him, and say, Lord, there will come that day where I will experience you giving us that promise. God bless you.